This is the Power Platform Daily Brief for Monday, May 27, 2019. What you need to know about the Power Platform today in 10 minutes or less. In our first story, the modern solution explorer at make.powerapps.com continues to improve, with the big announcement of the preview for adding existing flows and Canvas apps to solutions. That's been a long time coming, and something that I think has kept people from using solutions for Canvas apps and flows, because basically up till now you could add them, but you had to create them from the solution. And then those flows and Canvas apps were not available from the main list of flows and Canvas apps at their respective maker experiences. Along with that great news comes word that the solution packager, as well as source control options for dynamic solutions, now support Canvas apps and flows. This removes a barrier for primarily larger deployments with deployment automation to be able to use the Power Platform as well as standard Dynamics components. You can also have managed properties on Canvas apps and flows. Now, one thing you need to know is Canvas apps included in solutions that are managed can still be edited via the maker experience in the environment that they're in. So you should be aware of that. There's some other limitations that I will post a link to in the show notes here. And then the final thing on this topic, at least, is that you can now add apps and flows to solutions via Powershell. So great news if you got existing flows and don't want to recreate them from a solution. In our next story, on Friday, George Granata and Brad Kuntz briefly referred to dual write, the preview of the feature that allows for frictionless and near real-time integration between Dynamics 365 F&O and the Common Data Service, which also is Dynamics 365, of course. And so I wanted to add a few more details that we've learned since then. And the first thing is I wanted to mention, I think, big story here, besides making integration easier, is this now opens the door for the Power Platform to F&O users. So up till now, people have been able to reference F&O data, for example, in Canvas apps or in flows, but you couldn't trigger anything via F&O data. It was all just referencing the data. And so, for example, flows weren't really practical if you wanted something when something changed in F&O or was created in F&O to do something. Now you'll be able to, at least with the data that is integrated via the near real-time dual write capability. A couple things that Microsoft has published is that is the ability to write initial data prior to turning on dual write. They'll have a feature that will allow you, if you have an existing environment, you want to turn on dual write, to bring the initial data in before the dual write is enabled, and that way the data will keep updated. And another thing is they've made it resilient to planned and unplanned maintenance. So if dual write fails for some reason, administrators will be notified immediately and empowered to take action immediately. Administrators will be able to define the rules and provide email notification and or take action on behalf of the specific error type and thresholds. This also provides the functionality to switch to async mode in case of unexpected failures. And if you are a project service automation user or fan, you should know that Microsoft has published more clarification on the roadmap for PSA. And one of the big things I appreciate about this post is, Microsoft is changing PSA. There's a lot of components in it that aren't going away. And so people who are deploying PSA or have recently deployed PSA have been asking, so what are we safe to deploy now versus what will be changing? And so read this link I will put in the show notes. It's a really good summary showing kind of the roadmap and what the impact to new and existing capabilities will be. Next story. The new View Designer is now generally available, no longer a preview feature. If you haven't tried the new View Designer, you're missing out. If you're still using the classic solution experience and create or edit your views from there, you will still see the classic view designer. But if you build your views or edit them from the maker experience, either going to app designer and creating your views or editing them from the context of a model-driven app, or go to the CDS experience at make.powerapps.com. From there as well, you can configure views using the view designer. And it has so many things I love about it. Drag and drop, much easier to set widths. It shows the data as you build it. That's the biggest thing, because it's so frustrating in the classic designer once you use the new one to go back and then have the experience where you basically have 3 or 4 different modes you work in. Your field layout, your filter, and then going back and testing the view and saying, no, that's not the right data, or I'm missing data there, and then going back and forth, jumping around. People can design views literally, I think, at least twice as fast using the new view designer. Much less frustrating experience, especially if you're training somebody who doesn't have the background in the classic designer. This is a much less frustrating experience. Having the filter, the layout, and the data all there together and being able to drag and drop is just amazing. And that's our update for today. Today is Memorial Day in the United States, and so most people at Microsoft, at least the Microsoft product team, the people in the US, are off work today. So probably not going to be a lot of news tomorrow, but there's some other things that we'll catch up on later this week. This is also the week of the Hitachi Customer Conference, so I'm busy with that. Looking forward to that in Atlanta. And so as a result, we may have a lighter week on CRM Audio this week. But for today, this has been your Power Platform Daily Brief. Now you're up to date. Power on.